Welcome back, guys, to SMITE Guides, and today we are talking about Arachne. Arachne is a high mobility auto attack based assassin. Very strong. We'll go into her abilities and talk about her builds as well. We'll talk about her passive first. Her passive is very straightforward. It's a permanent buff on Arachne, and that basically gives her increased physical damage based on 5% of a target's missing health. So the more you hurt someone, the more damage you're going to be doing over time. It's 1.25% physical damage increased for every 5% of their target's missing health. So it's just a permanent boost on, or buff for Arachne on anybody with low health. Going into Arachne's core abilities, we'll run over here to the Odin bot here. We'll talk about her one first. It's just an activated ability that when activated, her next basic attack will do increased damage. She'll also do tick damage, applying a venom and a heal to herself. So a really good surviving ability. When you're going into a fight, you'll hit someone very hard. You'll see that proc was very large. And then you'll hit them with that tick damage you see above their head. And then also, you're going to give yourself a healing back as well. So really good if you're engaging into a fight and you need to initiate with a little bit of that survivability if you're brawling, and also just doing that initial hit. Her 2 is Cocoon. When activated, she gets increased attack speed by 70%. For the next 3 basics, if they hit the same god in a row or target, it can be a minion as well, they will get wrapped in a cocoon and be stunned for 1.4 seconds at max level. So you'll see this gives her a lot of attack speed just to get those basics off very quick, and then stunning that target for that 1.4 seconds. Really good. All of her abilities again are kind of based around her auto attacks, and then her 3 gives a little web that she shoots out that has 2 broodlings on it, or spawns, spider spawns, that will spawn off and attack anybody that runs through the web. It also gives her a boost in attack speed while she's on the web by 40%, I believe. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 40%. And then anybody in the web as well will be slowed by 15%. And anybody that runs through this spider web will also be slowed for 15% and be attacked by the 2 broodlings. She can have 3 of these active at one time, and they last quite a while if you spawn them out. They last 240 seconds if they're just sitting there. But in general, you're not going to have them just sitting around. They're really good in the beginning of a game if you want to spawn a few of them right before you take the camps. That's a good way of getting a very fast clear off. You can spawn 2 or 3 of them right before you take the XP camp when moving over from speed. But just to show you kind of how that activates when someone runs through it, we'll go ahead and launch that on them. You can use it as just a targeted ability where you just hit it on them, or you can use it as a trapped up ability where you set it out in front of them, or maybe you're engaging into a lane and chasing someone down. You can use it as a burst in attack or movement speed as well. And then going into her ultimate is basically she flips upside down above the lane and she'll run along her infinite web, and then she can choose a target to land down on. During this time, she can activate her 1 and her 3, or her 1 and her 2, while she's on the web, and then land and use those abilities just as if she had used them while they were on the ground. And then when she lands on the ground, she'll sprout a web out underneath her that does the same effect that I just mentioned for her 3, applying the slow and the movement speed that I had mentioned earlier. So I'll show you kind of what that looks like, where she flips upside down, and then this circle that you see when she lands will be covered in a web, applying that slow and increased movement speed for Arachne. Again, like I said, you can activate her 1 and her 2 while you are sitting on those, so that when you jump down, you get to use those abilities as well and get that slow applied off. So really good for Arachne. Her abilities work very well. Again, she's the attack speed, auto attack based assassin, so you want to make sure you're building her like an auto attack based assassin. Just to show you kind of what her burst looks like, we'll do basics first, just her basics. And then we'll go into if you were to buff her with her abilities, where you were to hit them with this and both of her abilities all at once. You can see quite a bit more damage, especially with the tick from her spiders also attacking them at the same time. You can see they do a bit of damage, nothing crazy, easy to kill. Most people are going to be able to get them off them pretty quickly, but if they're in a high stress situation, they might leave them be and be getting hit by them that entire time. So Arachne belongs in the jungle, as I'm sure you suspected, though we see her sometimes played in the solo lane. I feel like she does okay there, and you can build her in a tanky build if you wanted to, and I think she would be just fine. Tanky assassins do okay in Season 10, but though most of the time you're going to see her just built in the jungle. Alrighty, so going into Arachne's primary build, this is what I would typically build on her with the option to sub out 1 item here. These 3 items here are core items for assassins. These 3 items are core items for assassins. Anybody building with auto attacks, you could build this on a bruiser, bully, like Bologna warrior. You could build these 3 items on your hunters, which you will, and you could build them on auto attacks based assassins, which you will. These 3 items are just too strong right now not to build. But we'll go into Eye of the Jungle and a Protector of the Jungle. This gives you your attack speed, a little bit of protection and some power. Really nice. Complements Arachne's kit. Golden Blade helps you clear out camps quicker. She has a very slow early game clear, so this just kind of picks that up and allows her attacks or basic attacks to hit the gods that are on the sides as well, and also giving her that movement speed and attack speed she's going to need to stick to people. You go into Bladed Boomerang, which gets the passive where it drops a deployable that gives you increased movement speed and crit chance for 6 seconds, so really good if you want to get a little bit of crit built into the kit. Executioner is just sheer penetration. It also gives you the reduced protections for that pen, attack speed and power. Quisai for the heavy hitters, especially with her passive. You want to get people down to low health. This is where shredding tanks does really well for Arachne in the late game. Guardians and warriors are going to get shredded by her because you build Quisai on her. Then she also benefits from the additional physical damage. Whenever they start losing that 5% health increments, she gets that increased damage on them. And then dominance for the increased passive for 20% physical penetration on your basic attacks. And then you also get more attack speed and more power. So this build will actually cap out your attack speed on Arachne, which is really nice. You'll be at 2.5. You can sub in a couple items here. We'll talk about that. Bladed Boomerang you can sub out if you don't want to go the crit route. You can go into Atlanta's Bow, which is pretty much the exact same stats minus the crit. You get 10% physical pen instead. And then your passive still gives you Atlanta's agility for 10 seconds, which is the increased attack speed. And then they also decrease for the movement penalty when backpedaling or strafing by 30%, which is good for Arachne whenever you're trying to stick to people, or maybe you're in a big group fight and you get a kill or an assist, then you get that mobility, which is nice to have, and then also the additional attack speed as always. Another item you could build if you wanted to is Silver Branch Bow. Since you're going to be capping out your attack speed at 2.5 anyway, Silver Branch Bow could work out well. It gives her additional power of 2 for every 0.02 attack speed she goes over 2.5. So that could be an item that you could also sub into this build. I really like having the movement speed buff on Arachne, so I would stick to the Bladed Boomerang or Atlanta's Bow. Though you can sub out some items here, maybe late game if you wanted to sub out Golden Blade for Silver Branch Bow. But in general, Golden Blade's a very strong item just because it's allowing you to hit multiple things at once, especially in group fights. You don't understand how much damage that actually does when you're targeting one person, but other people are also getting proc by it at the same time, especially if you're focusing heavily on like the Guardians and the Warriors in the late game, because Arachne's really good at shredding down takes in the late game, especially with her debuffs, and she has that big area when she drops in her ult that gives that slow and movement speed increase. She's really good at really zoning out the Guardians and the Warriors in the late game. But this is basically what you would build on her. You can go a heavy crit build with Arachne, though I like to stick to attack speed based items with her. But if you wanted to sub out like an Atlanta's Bow and go into like your Rage with her, you could do that. And then you could also go into Deathbringer in the late game if you wanted. Probably subbing out Dominance and going into Deathbringer. You're really taking a hit on your attack speed. I would probably, at this point, if I was going to do this, not go into Ferocious, just get regular Executioner and increase this to Envenom Deathbringer. And then you get like a crit build like this, and then maybe in the late game you could sell out Golden Blade or Protector of the Jungle to get Dominance, just because Dominance is really strong. Get that attack speed base back, and then also get some more penetration. But this is kind of like a crit build you could go with Arachne as well. Like I said, Arachne is really strong. Just make sure you build her like you would build a Hunter, because she is auto attack based. So just in general, Arachne, again, it's auto attack Hunter based assassin build wise. Other than that, I hope this guide kind of went over everything that I needed to go over with Arachne. We're getting pretty efficient at getting through these guides pretty quick, so hopefully you're able to get in, learn, and get out. If you guys have any questions, if I left anything out or forgot something, feel free to drop it in the comments, just to help anybody else that comes in to see what I missed, and also help me so that I can remember next time and also learn from stuff maybe that I didn't know about Arachne that I didn't mention. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. If you do, leave a like on the video. It lets me know that you enjoyed the video. Subscribing lets me know that you plan on coming back. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. This has been the Bright Cry.